Kate.
Hi, Jenny.
Could you explain why do people choose volunteerism?
Sure. There have been many studies, and most people volunteer to gain personal growth or a sense of self-fulfillment. Some people volunteer to become immersed in the cultures that they are volunteering in, and others want to show their kids a sense of giving back or show them an appreciation for what they already have.
Wow. What about the people who travel a lot and want a new experience? I mean, you can only go to the beach so many times.
Yeah, seeking new adventures is definitely a reason that people are becoming more involved in volunteerism.
And do they bond with the other cultures and the volunteers?
Yes, lots of families or groups volunteer so that they can bond with each other.
Wow, that's good. But I bet there must be some challenges or negative impacts about the volunteerism.
Yeah, a lot of the tourists experience culture shock or they fail to learn the local customs. Many have language barriers that causes more problems for assimilation into the new communities. And oftentimes it takes a lot of time to train the tourists when they're only going to be there for a short amount of time. Some tourists also fail to understand the underlying circumstances for the reasons why the communities are so poor, and they just think that all of the people of that type are inherently poor.
And I also heard that the governments neglect the locals' need. Instead, they just focus on the tourist need so that they can attract more money.
Yeah, the governments and organizations that are arranging the jobs, they could give those jobs to the locals, but instead they're giving them to the volunteers. And many times those volunteers are unskilled, as is the case in Cambodia, where they take volunteers to teach English to the local children. Many times those volunteers are not previously trained, and so there's no way to ensure that they are teaching the right things to those children. And then when the volunteers leave, there's often no teacher or no way to make sure that the new volunteers who come in aren't teaching the same things over again.
Well, how about their cultures? I mean, does the volunteerism decrease the stereotype cultures?
Actually, it increases the stereotypes sometimes because the volunteerists are exposed to how uncivilized or poor the impoverished communities are. And that leads to increased attitudes and feelings of superiority that they think they're better off than the communities. There's also what's called a demonstration effect, where locals who are exposed to cell phones or other modern commodities become unsatisfied with their current situations. Many of the tourists also, they only want for their own personal growth instead of for the helping the countries that they're in, and so they compete for favorable tasks like animal or wildlife conservation, and those types of volunteerism are becoming more and more popular, whereas the country might really need some volunteerists in diseased or working with people with illnesses, and those are not as appealing to the volunteerists. So the future generations, unfortunately, they're not learning a social responsibility for society. They're just trying to enrich their own lives and not the ones of the countries that they're in.
That's still a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, till now I have a clear understanding of the motives and the challenges about volunteerism. Thank you very much, Kate.
Thanks, Jenny.
Do you feel so bad about the volunteerism? Don't worry. I think Grace will give us a good new ideas.
Hi everyone, don't be freaked out by those challenges and problems that Kate mentioned before. And I think there also be some good points about volunteerism. Luckily, today we invite Dr. Carrie. Hi Carrie,
Hi.
and could you give me some good news about volunteerism?
Sure, actually, volunteerism has a lot of benefits. For example, it can help the communities by helping the governments and organizations to save costs as volunteers they can act as free labor. This is particularly important for conservation projects which usually lack funding.
Is there any other benefits?
Oh yes, like economically it can help the small businesses to become more sustainable. First, those small businesses they usually lack funding. Volunteers can work on them to act as free labor to help them to expand, and also they can help them to inspire them to become more sustainable. For example, an organization called Woofer tries to organize volunteers to work on farms, and it is found that actually they can not only help to solve their starving problems but inspires them to become more sustainable. In addition, actually volunteer tourism can improve the economics of the community by volunteers engaging in different tourist activities.
So what about those social and political problems?
Oh, actually, it can increase cultural exchange and improve international relations. For example, I have conducted a study about 12 Australian visitors engaging in volunteer activities in indigenous communities in New Zealand, and it is found that both the host and the guest they experience genuine cultural exchange as they interact with one another for long periods of time.
Sounds volunteerism is really good, but as Kate mentioned before, there are still some challenges and problems about volunteerism. I guess there must be some solutions to solve these problems, at least to minimize these problems.
Oh yes, there are a lot. For example, educating the tourists about cultures and languages is one of the good ways. Also, actually, you can increase the communication between organization and the government to better meet the needs of the community. One more important thing, industry practices and guidelines should be set up and implemented to control the operations of tour operators. And it is suggested that actually tour operators are required to gain certificates to operate so that we can control their operations and minimize the impact brought to the community.
And I've also heard that Ritz-Carlton's guests are invited to join a program to help those children with psychological and physical illness. And also, Marriott is planning to have a program named Serve the Spirit to Serve New Orleans.
Oh yes, I've also heard those programs. These packages are wonderful as the hotels can provide accommodation, transportation, and food for the tourists, so it makes it easier and more attractive for volunteerism.
Yes, I believe volunteerism will grow in an organized way, and more people will join the volunteerism. Thank you, Carrie.
Welcome.
Grace, you know what? Even though there are lots of challenges about volunteerism, I still want to be a volunteerist.
Yes, me too. But hold on. Where's Echo?
What?
Hi girls,
What are you
I'm
doing?
here.
Wow,
Why
are
are
you? Grace, such a
Why you
big
bring
bag.
this? Yeah.
I'm so tired. You know what? I just heard what Dr. Cat and Carrie said. I think maybe I could be a volunteerist to help local people. So you know what? I'm finally found something which I can do to make my life more meaningful.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great. So,
And you just bring such a big luggage?
Yes. Is it enough for your trip?
no, of course not. I did more. Look, I filled the form got from give away volunteer vacations. I'm gonna go to Costa Rica, the most popular destination.
That's cool.
Yeah, and the founder told me that it's the perfect place to ease into the whole idea of volunteering. You know what? It's not very uncomfortable because the water there is drinkable and you won't feel so much culture shock. And also, it's a little bit uncomfortable, which makes you feel that I'm so great and good enough to be a volunteerist.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sounds
and
fine.
The people there are very friendly, and the nature is very beautiful. There are plenty of tropical plants and animals. You know what? I can't wait to be there anymore. I need to go now. Wait.
We need to go with you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go fill the form first.
Oh, but hold up. Yeah. We haven't said goodbye to our dear friends.
Oh yeah. Bye, my dear friends.
Bye.
I'm
Bye.
gonna miss you when I'm working and traveling.
Me too.
Bye bye.
So see